No, I'm just joking. Pull this
All right, here we go.
Yeah, what it do? What it do? What it do? It is your boy B Damone and Coach Gomez in the house.
What's poppin', baby?
Hey, blessed and Coach came in looking fresh. We were talking about that before.
Man, come on, man.
Already know. You already know. We got to keep it clean.
We gotta keep it clean, bro.
So this is episode 132 of Along the Wire. Thank you for tuning in on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We are back at Level Up Production Studios, and it is going down today, man. It's been a great weekend of football, and that's what we are going to give you. We're going to give you some of the review, a little bit of coverage, give you some stats. We're going to have a great conversation today. It's going down for episode 132 of Along the Wire. Make sure y'all subscribe, like, share the link, let everybody know what's going down today. We got some teams we're going to be talking about and actually getting into some SAISD schools.
Yep.
And talk about some playoff projections and some of the district standings. But first, we are going to start off talking a little bit of UTSA 8-0.
8-0.
And before we came in today, they moved up a couple spots in both rankings, in the coaches poll and in the AP ranking. They're 22 in the coaches poll and 23 in the Associated Press rankings. So, I mean, that seems to fit, you know.
Yeah, man. I mean, as long as they keep that gas on the pedal, man. All gas, no brakes right now. And like Rashad says it on Twitter all the time. What does he say? It don't come easy.
Right.
You know, they are putting in the work.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? They're putting in the work, and Coach Traylor got them off to a great start.
Yeah.
And they all bought into his system. And one thing that I did notice over social media is that, you know, Traylor interacts with the fans, a lot of the fans. You know what I mean? And when you got that, and
after the game,
yeah, and before the game, I mean, he's always on campus doing things, really involved, and that's one thing that I didn't see Frank Wilson do. I know he had a lot of respect from a lot of people around the city, but you know, there's certain things that certain coaches bring to the table that, you know, fans and not only that, their players will buy into it. You know what I mean? They enjoy seeing that, and they're like, man, there's something about this man, and all of them have taken it and ran with it, man.
So going from somebody who's well respected, has the name and the connections and everything like that, to a coach that's visibly more a man of the people. Definitely.
Yeah, for real.
Definitely. Going out there, passing out breakfast and lunch with the student body, exactly how you were making reference to, you know, doing those small things that gets those students to want to come out.
That's the Paul Wall of San Antonio, baby. That's the people's champ. That's the people's champ right there.
The people's champ. Hey, there you go. Coach Traylor is San Antonio's people's champ.
But Texas Tech and all them got to stay away from him, man. I mean, you know, I've been seeing some things where they want to come after him, and I feel that, you know, the energy he's bringing and what he's done, I mean, it's a fresh start for him with the new race system. That's another start.
Hey,
everything's a new beginning, bro. I mean,
Tech needs to focus on their squad.
Yeah, for sure.
Finish your season, you know?
Yeah, that means that coach is going to be coming out there like Bobby Boucher from The Waterboy, man.
Yeah.
Making that noise that
pull away from our coach.
Hey, Traylor's been trying to tell people don't eat the cheese, so
he better not eat the cheese.
So 8-0, man. And the thing I liked about the game, not to harp on it too much, but the thing I liked about the game was that they started off down.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that they came back and they weathered that quick, because that was a drive that they put together. Six plays going down there in less than 2 minutes or three minutes, and getting that score.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, but they were in a battle with Memphis before,
Right.
And Memphis is not a pushover team.
Right.
They battled with Illinois before, so
Right.
they've kind of been there before.
Yeah. And so, it was good. And then, it went from a little battle to a beatdown.
Yeah. Once
exactly.
they got that, I think they had to get their legs, underneath them after a flight and then a bus ride and stuff like that. But once they got settled down, they were the UTSA that we've been seeing the last few weeks.
So now they are on a bye week, and when they come back from that bye week, it's UTEP.
Yep.
So that's going to be one that I'm glad they have a bye week for, because you get that and you create even more separation. Because with that victory last night, Rice beat UAB.
Yeah.
So that puts UTSA in first place in the entire conference by themselves. So if you beat UTEP, you create even more space.
Yeah, well, they got UTEP next. They got UAB.
And
then they
Southern
got Southern Mississippi. Southern Mississippi's only won one game, which they have nothing to lose, because that could be a dangerous team to play against.
Exactly.
And then you got UAB, who's 5-2, I believe, right now.
Right.
And
you close out with North Texas.
And then you close out with North Texas, and that's always a battle. So, I mean, you still got some tough ones down the line.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You got to stay focused. They got to stay focused.
Big game, trap game, UAB.
Yeah.
And then another rival in North Texas.
A trap game.
Yeah.
Trap game. So you got two trap games, a big game. And then...
Because if all things go according to plan and how we would want them to go as fans and supporters of them, they would be undefeated going into that game. So you don't want to be looking forward to the conference championship.
Yeah, still got to play some games, man. Get them out of the way.
Exactly. So, don't eat that cheese. Don't eat that cheese. So, let's get into this top 25. Well, congratulations, UTSA 8-0, all that. Anything on the internets? Nothing right now. Cool. So once again, we are interactive. So if y'all have any messages or anything like that y'all want to send, we will respond live on air. So let's get into this top 25. I put this out this morning, and let's go from 25 up. I got mine on my phone, as y'all can see up there on the screen right now. So number 25, Antonian comes back into the ranking, and we will be talking about them a little bit later, but they had their victory this past weekend over St. John.
Yeah.
Is that the school? I want to make sure.
Yeah, St. John.
St. John. What number is that? St. John
is like 23 or something.
Yeah, something like that. Because I was like, no, it's not 13. Anyway, so we got Antonian at 25, the Apaches. Number 24, Harlan, in a battle with Marshall.
Yeah, that was a good game.
31-20. They took that loss, so they dropped down 6 spots from 18 to 24. Next up, we got East Central, who we had spoken about, and in that game, they ended up taking that loss to number 12, New Braunfels. Number 22, Madison. We will get into and talking about. They make their way back into the rankings, and that's a very interesting team that we will be talking about. They've been somewhere in between my 26 and 32. For those of y'all who actually wonder, like, hey, well, if they're not 25, what are they? But they've been hovering. So they had their win over Brandeis. So they are back up at 22. Somerset took a loss. I did not see them losing that game.
Yeah, man, that was a tough one.
In that fashion.
I heard that quarterback was pretty much on point. I was talking to some of the guys, and they were saying, man, that guy was on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Their coach went into halftime. He goes, at halftime we were good, and then we came back and they made adjustments at half. And they just came and gave it to us, man.
Yeah. So Somerset took the loss to Bernie, and they are down 6 spots. Next up, we got Brackenridge. Brackenridge won a close one, 24-19. I'm trying to. Who was over
Who's that?
Brackenridge? We're going to be talking about them today too. We'll come back to that. So Brackenridge is now 6-3. They are up 5 spots. Number 19, Southwest. Southwest has been. They've been doing their thing. Them and Legacy.
Yeah.
Got those first and second spots locked down, and we'll get into that in just a moment. They are 6-3. And they won 21-0 this past weekend. That's why they're moved up. 18 Lanier won 34-0 this past weekend, and they move up 5 spots from 23 to 18. We've got Holmes. Holmes had a victory this past weekend, 38-21. And they move up 2 spots.
And that's good to see
to
Holmes
17.
and teams like Marshall getting into the playoffs, man. You saw that, Marshall was excited like if they won a championship already.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, man. All right. So we're gonna get through. Yeah. We're gonna get through. But I mean, that's the good thing about even talking about these games. It's because it's so much that you want to talk about because you're seeing it.
It's exciting. Bro.
Exactly.
It's something new.
Exactly. Playoff push time. All right. So number 16 jumps in with their victory over Somerset.
Yeah.
Bernie. And I've had some people ask me, how can you have Bernie just jump up there to 16 like that? Well, when you put together a collection of work, well, they've had some wins over teams that haven't been that spectacular, but they've got some. You hate to say the term good losses, but you can understand who they lost to and the performances that they have when they beat somebody. They beat them.
Yeah, no doubt, too. And I know we always, it's kind of like the college pros. I mean, they had a great season last year as well, so It's not like they're completely way down here out of the bag or out of the brackets. It's more like, all right, yeah, they did lose a couple of people. They went to the third round last year. They lost a couple of people, but at the main positions, they got a lot of returning starters. So of course we're going to be a competitive team again. You know what I mean? So
exactly,
it's kind of like Judson. Judson, we started them in the top 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they had that respect, but they ended up working themselves out.
Exactly.
So it's just one of those things.
It's the season that you put together.
Yep. It matters the prior season when it comes to rankings.
Exactly. Next up, we have up 1 spot Davenport. They won their game 57-6. Number 14, Bernie Champion, down 1 spot as they lost to Alamo Heights. Alamo Heights in a close one.
Still undefeated, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you make the timely plays, and shout out to Coach Ritterman over there. He's got them focused, and if you can win these close games, unlike the Texans. So here we go. Next up, Southwest Legacy. I was just mentioning them. They are at the top of their district right now. They are up 1 spot with their 28-0 victory this past week. Number 12, down 7 spots, Brandeis.
Man.
Brandeis.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yes. Yes, we will. New Braunfels, 6-2. They got their victory over East Central.
Yeah.
And I love that when we talk about the games and you actually, like how we talked about the East Central game last week and said, well, they might lose, but we want to see how they look.
Yeah.
And, and they passed that test of, okay, so now when these games start coming up, they're going to be fighting. It's going to be in there. It's going to be fighting there. All right, next up, top 10. We have got Floresville. They maintained their 10th spot.
The win over Kerrville-Tivy.
Yeah.
In Kerrville-Tivy. That's a tough place to play at.
And what was that? That was 69. Was it 69?
No, it was like about a touchdown.
49-34.
Yeah, it was
49-34.
It was a good battle, man.
49-34, Floresville. Number 9, Marshall. Marshall moves up 2 spots from 11-9. with their victory over number 18 Harlan. Can't wait to talk about them. And I've got some stats to like add to the questions and the conversation. So number 8, holding steady, East Central, Central Catholic on their bye week this week. Good to see them get rest, as well as Taft. They had their bye week this week, so they stay at number 7. Smithson Valley
with a huge loss.
They dropped 4 spots with their loss to Judson.
Yeah.
And wow, that last 4 to 5 minutes of that game, them and that Madison Brandeis game, that's just
Yep.
So Smithson Valley with the 33-32 loss to Judson drops 4 spots to number 6. Moving up 4 spots, Reagan with their 35-7 win over Roosevelt.
Yep.
And Carson's back.
Perfect time.
Yes. 2 more weeks to go, and you get him back, able to work out some of the rust. And I mean, he already scored twice in this last game.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's good to see him get back out there on the field. Just from how I know his mentality and attitude, I know he was just mad the entire time, just
ready to grind.
Exactly.
I got so much to catch up on
exactly,
right now. You know
exactly. So Reagan's now in the top 5, and the squad with their victory over Bernie Champion, Alamo Heights, moves up to number 4.
Just figuring out ways to get them W's each and every week, man.
You just keep winning. You just keep winning. Number 3, Johnson moves up 1 spot. They took care of business. I mean, actually, no, they were on bye. I'm sorry. I was thinking of their prior week. Number 2 now, Cibolo Steel. Cibolo Steel took care of business, 56-6.
Mm-hmm.
And, like we had said, they need to move South San out. So
yeah, for sure.
And number 1, again, Brennan.
Took care of business.
Yeah, 69-6.
Yeah.
And for those who see the scores and it's like, how could you beat a team like that? Because like you get fans like that, but it's there's a reason to win that way, and it's not necessarily when you go to those games. It gets to a certain point where you're just running the ball, and if you just can't stop the run, then you're just not able to stop it. It's not like people that are just dropping back, throwing 50 yards with 2 seconds left to get to 69 points.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's all rankings. It's all points allowed, points scored. I mean, they take all that to consideration.
And just even outside of whatever rankings that I put together, when they're looking at the playoffs and all the tiebreakers and the points and everything like that.
I mean, those are the real ones we're talking
exactly.
about. That's what I'm talking about is
exactly.
The state rankings.
Exactly.
Stuff, so.
Exactly. So here's your top 10. Your top 25 is there on the screen. You see it, but your top 10 is number 1, Brennan. Number 2, Cibolo Steel. Number 3, Johnson. Number 4, Alamo Heights. Number 5, Reagan. Number 6, Smithson Valley. 7, Taft. 8, Central Catholic. 9, Marshall. 10, Floresville. Congratulations to the top 10.
And these few weeks, fellas, closing out the season, man. You got to still go balls out, take care of business in the classroom and on the field, and make sure that you end this football season where you really want. Leave it all out in the field.
Exactly. Okay, so we're gonna take a look now at some of the district playoff standings, and I have a couple questions that I want to ask you. And we'll talk about some of the games this past week before we start talking about the individual teams. We'll go district and then teams. All right here we got Brennan and Taft, Marshall, Harlan, Northside, right?
Yep.
I only included the teams that actually have a chance of making the top 4. I figure if we're going back, we wouldn't have expected Holmes in this picture. Probably Warren, maybe Harlan, Marshall, Taft, and Brennan. I would say that we would have thought were there. But going into this, the broad question is, when it comes down to your last 3 or 2 weeks, at what point do you start, and you hit on this last week, but more so than just certain situations, when do you start opening up or adding things to your playbook that maybe you haven't done during the season, getting ready for the playoffs, that you want to add to try to win state?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways they can approach this. I mean, there's coaches that are probably already starting to send, you know, some scouts out there to start looking at these possible playoff matchups.
Right.
You know what I mean? Once that starts getting taken care of, all right, where can we attack these teams? And that's when they kind of start making some of the adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to utilize them now? Probably not, because you may not be facing that same front right now, but you can start practicing them in practice.
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot of things they want to start doing is fine-tuning the things that are actually working for you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you want to go into that game and make that team adjust to you.
Exactly.
You don't want to adjust to them. Yeah, you want to hit some points. Where are their weak spots? I want to attack that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I don't want to change a whole lot, because why? We want to go in there comfortable, trusting the process and trusting what we've been coaching and preaching all season long.
So then you really start to trim the fat on your playbook and hit the plays that you run the most successfully.
Exactly. And then along with adding some potential plays that will exploit the other team's weaknesses.
Right.
But you don't want to get completely out of hand and add too much, because then at the end of the day, it's kind of like, all right, coach, you've been preaching this all season, and then all of a sudden we're going back for who our identity is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
And then that's when the questions started to appear, and you start questioning yourselves on, in the fourth quarter or the third quarter on certain play calls, and maybe not executing to the best of your ability.
Right. So this is Northside. Brendan Taft, Marshall, Harlan. You got Harlan, Holmes, and Warren that could all possibly end up in a 3-way tie. There's one game left for Harlan next week. Marshall's got 2. Taft's got 2. Brennan's got 2. And Warren's got 2. If I'm going off of this right now,
I mean, who does Harlan got left on their schedule, and who does Holmes got left on their schedule? I mean, it's going to be, I think Holmes could slip in, late.
Let's see. Harlan has got, here, let me get Holmes.
Yeah, because Holmes has a tough squad, as Harlan does as well.
Holmes has got Brennan and Stevens.
All right, so they can go possibly 1-on-1.
1-on-1.
And who does Harlan got?
And Harlan has Warren's their last game.
So they just got one more.
One more. So pretty much.
And Holmes did Holmes beat them?
No, Harlan has the tiebreaker over Holmes. So even if Holmes was to win out, Harlan would have that 4th spot.
All right, so there you go.
So with a Harlan win, they eliminate Warren, and Holmes has to pull off
a miracle
versus Brennan.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch over to the next one.
Which is possible with Coach Morales out there. It could be that one game, man. It could be that spoiler, bro. I'm just saying, there has been, in the past, what happened with Brennan when there was a spoiler.
Okay,
there has to be an off
what
game,
I was gonna exactly, and I'll get into that, man. All right,
spoiler alert.
Exactly. Make sure I think of Brennan when we talk about what's coming up. All right. So here we go. We were just talking about this district with Reagan and Carson being back. You got Reagan with 2 games left. You got Johnson with 2 games left. You got Brandeis with 2 left. Clark with 2 left. Let me say these. I mean, y'all can see it, but for those of you listening, Reagan's at 6-0 in district. Johnson's at 6-0. Brandeis is at 4-2. Madison is at 3-3. Clark is at 3-3, and Roosevelt is at 3-4. Roosevelt has got 1 game left in district, and that team they are playing is.
And I can see Madison squeezing in.
There is a way for them to squeeze in.
Yeah, because they got Lee and MacArthur next.
Yep.
So there's a big chance they can leap over Clark.
Okay, last game for Roosevelt. I'll give them a dub over Churchill. Clark's last 2 are versus Mack and Johnson. They'd have to win out.
Yeah, they'll have to win out. So I think there's a possibility that Madison's going to squeeze in at the very end. And who has the tiebreaker between Madison and Clark?
Clark.
Clark won.
Clark won. So for Clark to make the playoffs, they have to win out. For Madison to make the playoffs, they need to win out and have Clark lose to Johnson. Roosevelt is out.
Yeah.
Roosevelt is out. So as of right now in this district, it's between Clark and Madison for that last spot. I got Madison edging it in. I think they need to put together some impressive wins versus Lee and versus Mack, along the lines of what everybody else has been doing in the district.
The only one I can see spoiling it, even though Lee's not having a great season, is Lee. Lee can spoil it for them if Madison doesn't come in ready.
Exactly.
Though Madison does have the athletes to go.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to this next district. All right.
Yeah.
This just got interesting. As you can see on your screen, and for those of you who are listening, I will read down the list. Steele is number 1 in district, 5-0. You got Smithson Valley took a slip to 4-1, and that just opens up a can of worms. New Braunfels at 3-2, East Central at 3-2, Clemens at 2-3, and Judson at 2-3. Now, with the win for Judson over Smithson Valley, now I got a question if they can beat Steele. I wasn't having any thoughts of them beating either of those squads, but like I said on the pregame show before the Thursday night games or before the Friday night games, when Judson gives effort, they can play with anybody in the state.
And I think it was an awakening with the Williams being let go. You know what I mean? They kind of woke up the squad. They woke up probably the assistant coaches as well, because now everybody's job is on the line. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because you're not knowing who the new head coach is going to be coming in. Hey, if you weren't doing a great job, I'm replacing you as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now it's up to the new head coach to pick and choose who he wants to keep from that staff. And I'm sure whoever it is going to come and ask questions like, hey, who was in line? Who stepped up when Rodney was gone? Stuff like that. So I think that with Rodney being dismissed, it woke up a lot of people, including the players.
Right.
Including the players, because it's like, man.
And that depth chart can be moved around. Yep. Because, I mean, the head coach has final say. And if whoever's interim or whoever the next one is, it's just like in college when they deal with turnover.
Yep.
Now it's a whole new set of eyes that are going to be on you and might have a different vision for you.
And exactly. And there might have been some visions already set that we don't even know about when they said, oh, as soon as he stepped out, let's do these changes right quick.
Exactly.
And maybe that was the changing point. You don't know.
Exactly.
So, kudos to Justin on making the adjustment as far as coaching. They knew they had the talent, pulled off the W to show that they did have the talent. Now let's continue winning these last few games.
Exactly. And the reaction and the effort shown was totally different than when we attended that Smithson Valley game. Because, I mean, you called it then and there.
Yeah.
You were like, oh, Judson's about to lose this game last year.
Yeah.
And then, the fight that they put up this year.
Yeah. And they have that fight and that will in them, because how are you going to battle with DeSoto the very first game of the season, and all of a sudden...
That's who I said was happy that Judson won.
Yeah.
They're up there in Dallas like, see, we told you they could be. And because, I mean, Smithson Valley is ranked like in the top 20 in state too.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, now we're not the only one to lose to them.
Yeah, so they lost. I mean, they beat 2 state-ranked teams, but yet everybody else they couldn't handle. Right. Come on, man. I was telling you, where was the issue lying at?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So now I'm glad they got their coaching situation taken care of for the time being, and get those kids back on track, man, because there's no reason they should have a 3-5 season right now, man, with that talent they got out there at Converse.
So let's see East Central. Let's look at East Central's last 2. Well, no, we looked at them last week. We looked at everybody in this district.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a possibility where, we talked about East Central getting in there.
Yeah, so Judson's last 2 are Steele and Wagner. With their performance versus Smithson Valley, those are winnable games. with the pressure and everything that they were able to put on Smithson Valley and just hanging in there playing with them. If you're playing with Smithson Valley, you can play with Steele.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna put the pressure on Steele and them and Wagner. I see Justin going 2-0 the next couple weeks,
which will put them at 3-0 in their last 3. But and this is why.
But if they don't get in, it's because New Braunfels beat them.
Right.
And I see New Braunfels winning out.
So, New Braunfels already took care of East Central, and you're saying if Judson doesn't get in, it's because New Braunfels beat them, right?
2, 3, 4, yeah.
So you got,
you know what? It's going to be 4. So yeah, they'll get in.
So you got East Central Clemens
1,
out.
2, 3. Yeah.
East Central Clemens out, Judson in.
Yeah, Judson will get in.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to the next district. This is interesting. Brack, who just needs to beat Highlands next week. Highlands got 2 games left.
Yeah.
Brack just needs to win, and they win district. So the task is simple for them. Now just going out there and doing it.
Now, if Kennedy could get in, that would be sweet.
Now that's
that's
one of the schools we're going to talk about later too.
They haven't anything like that in a minute. You know what I mean? And I would just like to see something from the West Side. You know, get into the playoffs.
Now I'll tell you how they have to get in though. For them to get in, Lanier or Burbank have to lose out completely, because, and I was going to save this stat for later, but Kennedy, 2 of their 3 victories are versus Brack and Highlands.
Yeah.
Who are 1 and 2. But you have 2 losses to 3 and 4. So, and those are the 2 schools that are above you. And that's why, that's what makes, the game so great, and why you have to bring it every game, every play. And it just is so important, because you never know the situations that you're going to end up in 1 or 2 games left in the season. And it's like, but we beat 1 and 2. And, so you can compete. And just us even talking about Kennedy being in the playoff picture right now.
Yeah, that's great. That's great, bro. They just, because then eventually them kids will start buying into it, man.
And Edison
too did pretty good. I mean, considering they lost their starting QB, they had some guys come in and start, contributing and at least made them a contender.
Yeah, and the bottom 3 who actually aren't in the playoff picture right now, but there's ways for them to be in there. They all need help from the tops. They need 2 of the 4 to lose out. They need 2 of the 3, being Highlands, Lanier, or Burbank, to lose out for any one of those 3 bottom teams to make it in. But it's a great conversation, and hey, I expect maximum effort is going to be had from all 3 of those squads.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely. All right, let's move on to the next district. Here we go. Southwest Legacy at 4-0 in district. Southwest at 4-1 in district. Southside at 3-1 in district. Wynn is at 2-2, and Rio Grande City is at 1-3. I got you.
So 1, 2, 3, 4. So you'll see that one staying the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't see anything changing about this. Let's just look at Southwest real quick. So we got these top 4 saying Southside, Wynn, Southwest, Southwest Legacy, all making the playoffs. We didn't have them, of course, attrition this year, and you lose the best quarterback in the district for Southside. You don't. But them doing this with that situation, bravo.
I mean, you have to. I mean, you never want to, put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Revolve everything around one kid, And of course, yes, he's going to spread the ball and distribute it to other guys and make different decisions. But at the end of the day, you still got to establish a running game, bro.
Exactly.
You still got to have a running game. So, Coach Locke does a great job of putting guys in position to be successful and in space. You know what I mean? But as far as their passing game, I'm sure it's taking a little toll on it. But at the same time, you got guys that are stepping up. Not only that, preparing for the future.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All right, let's roll to the next district, and we'll hit this one real quick. Johnson, Dripping Springs, Seguin, Vets Memorial, Canyon, and Harlandale. This is a crazy district. I have it up here because Vets Memorial is within the city limits and Harlandale as well. I see Vets holding off as they just beat Canyon. That's the only tiebreaker that they need. They have the tiebreaker over Harlandale as well. So if there is a 3-way tie for fourth place, Vets Memorial gets that. All right, let's move on. All right. Central Catholic 4-0. They have 2 games left in district.
I have 2 games left in district with St. John's and Antonian.
St. Thomas has 1 game left. Antonian Prep has 2. And Concordian Lutheran has 2 left. Central Catholic has a tiebreaker with everybody. The last team they have to play is
Antonian. At Antonian.
I thought that was at Central Catholic.
No, it's going to be at Antonian.
Okay. Cool.
So that'll be rivalry games are always tough, man.
Mm-hmm.
They can't go in there thinking that they're going to, put it on them. Yeah, you want to go in there with confidence, but at the same time, just go in there, handle business, execute what's called, and defense. Most importantly, defensively. I mean, Antonian has Ricky Gonzalez right now, who's the leading receiver in that district. Right. That kid's on the up and coming right now, so they're going to have their hands full with defending him.
Exactly. And yeah, we'll talk about that too. All right, so this is I don't want to say TAPS.
Yeah, it's TAPS.
I was going to say private school, but TAPS. All right, so let's get into our next one. That's it. All right, let's get into some of the team talk, how we did last week. So who do we got on the docket first? Brackenridge. All right, let's talk a little bit Brack. Head coach Larry Norman. This squad has a team. They play in SAISD. They play a lot. They have a lot of players that play both sides of the ball.
Yep.
They have losses this year that total 28 points. Their worst loss being the first game of the year to Somerset by 14 points, and 2 7-point losses thereafter that. So when they have lost, it's not like they're getting blown out.
Yeah.
Interestingly, with them, like I said, if they win over Highlands, they clinch their district. They're giving up only 14 points per game in district, and at that same time, averaging 30 points per game in district.
Yeah.
So pretty much when they win, they're 2 scores, or if they lose, it's real close.
So this is the way I look at it with SAISD. It's kind of like how Veterans Memorial.
And they have a 6A win over Lee.
How Veterans Memorial and Wagner were when they were in that district.
Okay.
What they have to do week in and week out to know that they were ready when they got out into the playoffs. What they do, both of those 2 teams right there, if you can tell me right off the bat.
They blew everybody out.
Exactly. So in order for Brack to actually have a true run, to gauge yourself correctly, you got to be blowing these guys out. Not only that, then 14 points, you want to be like 7 or 0 points. I mean, look at Wagner and look at Vets Memorial.
Yeah, shutouts.
They were shutouts. And you got to play that hard and that greedy in order to.
And those squads made it to the state semis.
Exactly. You got to be that in order to compete when you get out SAISD. Exactly. If you're just barely making it right now, right, and beating them, yeah, it's all right. I'm in the SAISD and we're 6-1, 7-1.
Yeah.
But at the same time, does your defense show that what you're going to do that in the playoffs? You know what I mean? You want to be able to make a run, and the way you're going to do that is by being, greedy in that in those situations right now.
Speaking of, you said greedy, and I was going to talk about Marquise Anthony because I've been blessed to be around these players. You had me around him, Marquise, and Xavier Camargo. I feel like I've been seeing this kid since he was like in 7th grade or something. Yeah, we've had him since and he's only a junior. Yeah, he's only a junior. So they've got some really good athletes. A couple of stats about this squad. They have 3 receivers on their team with over 150 yards. They got 3 players with 200 yards rushing. Their quarterback, Richard Lopez, has 900 yards passing and 400 yards rushing. So he's able to do both. Xavier has 500 all-purpose yards, and they have a wide receiver. You might think Marquise would be their top receiver, but he's not.
Yeah.
It's Brandon Garcia, and he has over 600 all-purpose yards and actually averages 25 yards per catch, with Marquise at 19.3 yards a catch. But Marquise is a special talent, and he plays safety and receiver and makes some timely big plays. He was actually on ESPN with the You Got Mossed.
Yeah.
So I mean, he can make the plays.
And and kudos to that offensive coordinator. I mean, he was out at, speaking of Vets Memorials, he was at Vets Memorials last year, and now he's out at Brackenridge, and they're doing big things. And
speaking of coaches with the changes, no school with a bigger change in their history than Coach Hall
retiring.
Yeah, and this being
the first year without him.
There. Yeah. I bet you he's proud. I know he's proud watching them.
Oh, yeah, yes. I mean, because a lot of those kids, I mean, in SAISD, Brack was kind of like the school that everybody would try to get to.
They got grandparents that played with Coach Hall.
Yes. I mean, that's the school that everybody wanted to go to as far as SAISD. Coach Hall had a great staff all those years that he was there, cared about the kids truly and the community.
Mm-hmm. Who we got next up? Kennedy. Let's get into it. Coach Ben Benavidez. Over there, they are 5-3 right now. Their last 2 games versus Jefferson and Memorial. Like I said, they beat Brack and Highlands, 1-2 squads, with losses to Burbank and Lanier. They must win out and have help from Lanier and Burbank to both lose out. They don't have a tiebreaker over either. Interestingly about them, though, their first 3 games in district, they gave up 34 points per game.
Yeah.
The last 3 they've been on their streak, 21. That's a big switch.
Well, not only that, you're more than halfway through the season by now that they should be getting their responsibilities and coming up and reading things a lot faster, reacting, coming downhill and making the hits on defense. So,
and the one win and the one loss that I have them as like wishing they had back was a 2-point loss to Sam Houston. Yeah. If they don't lose that game, they're that 4th squad.
Yeah.
They're that 4th squad. So congrats for Kennedy even being in the conversation. Like we said earlier, definitely with Coach Harrison coming in here, we can see that they're having some changes made on the mentality because the school's still fighting. This is a school that would have been, I don't even want to give, this would have been like a Lee or a Mac type expectation, even in that district when it comes to you playing them.
Effort, just effort and
just so I mean the effort being there, it's been awesome. So even if y'all don't make the playoffs, Kennedy, keep on pushing towards next year too. All right, who do we got next? All right, Madison. I got some stuff on Madison. Here we go. Madison's at 4-4. Their last 2 versus Lee and Mac, like we said, 3-3 in district. If they win out, they are in. They've got to put up some points to do this. Interestingly enough, they're such a 4-4 squad and 3-3 in district. Listen to this. They average 25 points in their wins, right? But they average 17 points in their losses, and they only give up 19 points a game. Like, that's so much one possession football, one decision, one tackle. That's some high pressure.
That's the difference between an inch and a yard, huh?
Exactly. My question is, what, and I had this before, what does it mean when you see a stat like that? And this is a squad that lost to Clark but beats Brandeis. So
I think we spoke on that. Was it yesterday? Evening?
Yeah.
That we had expected him to possibly give him that W.
Right.
Get that W over Brandeis. And like you said, what does it mean if you're the opponent going to face them? You know, if I was facing them next week, seeing those stats that you just went over, I'm thinking, all right, this is a dangerous team. Because they're winning, they're either losing those games because, like you said, either a possession, but it could have been penalties.
Right.
It could have been. I know Coop was hurt, so they had to figure out when he was down. How many games? 4 games. Maybe?
4 games.
Yeah, so that was a go-to receiver right there, guy who contributes a lot on special teams and even on defense.
Right.
So key players that were down wasn't Isaiah banged up in the beginning as well.
Yeah.
So you had key players in the beginning,
not 100%,
not 100% at the beginning of the season to contribute to your offense and defense. That can take a toll as well. I mean, look at Brandeis was struggling when they had their quarterback situation when they were down their quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But yes, that is a scary team, and it just shows that they're capable of winning week in and week out just the way they're capable of losing. And they're not losing by a lot, and they're not winning by a lot. They're just a grindy, gritty team, man.
Right. And I mean, I think they're on that verge of either they can bust out and beat a team bad, and that's what I think you have to see versus Lee, and you have to see versus Mac.
But they were having that situation coming in from the summer. I mean, back in July. I mean, even back in March, they were trying to find themselves a quarterback. And that's what they were lacking.
And I was just about to go to that.
And right now, it looks like they finally found someone that's developing. Now if you had somebody that was returning already developed and polished, let's take it back some, like a Dante Higgins when he was there for what 3 years or 2 years as a quarterback, but contributing. You don't skip a beat.
Right.
Well, I don't think they would have skipped a beat if they had an actual true quarterback because they have position players, man.
Exactly.
They got a bunch of skill players out there.
And that's all right. That's what I wanted to talk about real quick. Caden Mata is definitely a quarterback who they can use and make it a couple of rounds into the playoffs. It's just going to be that running game after that's going to have to help supplement that arm, because then once they start bracketing Coop, or if Campbell number 20 isn't able to step up, Trey Brown, who had the tying catch last week.
I mean, even as a coach thinking outside the box, just because I know Isaiah Edwards personally, I mean, putting him as a tight end just to at least, bring attention. Oh, man, they're putting him on offense just so that the defense won't try to corral Coop. Right. Let's put even Miguel out there because he was an offensive player last year. You put Miguel and Isaiah Edwards out to the right and put Coop on the left. Now you got to be honest on defense, because any of those three can make plays, and I've seen them make plays. You know what I mean? But
Isaiah's used to handling the ball with him playing running back as well. So
exactly, and he has great hands. He has good hands for a defensive player.
Right,
and he's also fast. So,
and they've got names at every level. I'll give a couple. Darius Dillard at running back. Miguel Becker also plays running back and safety. DB, Becker, Rogers, and Demetrion. Rodriguez. And on the D line, they've got the sophomore Stanton, and they've got Erdich as well. And then you got Isaiah, who can play safety, linebacker, and on the defensive line. So I mean,
or running back if needed, short yardage.
Exactly.
But I'm just saying, as far as for like how you were talking about a defense trying to stop Coop.
Yeah.
You put those two guys at least to attract attention. Guys being recruited, he's a D1 prospect. You got to at least respect that.
Exactly.
Rather than just having some other dudes and then have Coop out there. Well, shoot, we know who it's going to go to right off the bat. You know what I mean? So just some decoys.
So, man, we could talk about Madison a while. All right, next up, SA Vets. This is another one that we were just talking about their district, and we do expect them to make the playoffs. And when their next one's coming up, I've got some stats on them right now. 4-4. Their last two are versus Lehman and, am I saying that right?
Kyle Lehman.
Yeah, and McCullum. Both are the two dead last teams in district, so they should be able to win out. Going off the stats, this is a squad that gets in a shootout, that can be in a shootout, but they've got to have their defense step up.
Yeah.
Their last 3 games, they're 2-1, but they're giving up 45 points a game. I mean, they're putting up points themselves, but they're giving up 45 points a game.
I think this is one of those things where we talked about Harlan a few weeks back early in the season, where it's team finding its identity again. You had the Darius is there for a while, I guess. You had, who else did they lose? You had Summers out there before. You had guys that had been in the system because that was when they opened the school.
Simeon.
So you had guys they were there when they opened the school, so
Yeah.
they took a little more pride.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense, because they were like the first ones. Hey, we're
Exactly.
building this, whatever the case may be. But now you got new blood. They got to keep the same standards as those other guys had.
Exactly.
I mean, Vets Memorial did great when they were the new school. I mean, because they had all these new guys from Madison,
Yeah.
Judson, Clemens area, so forth. So they got some athletes in that area, but it's just about pride, man. And then of course, losing their OC to Brack,
right?
That
changes up a lot.
That changes up a lot as far as offense. You know what I mean? Because that offense was potent whenever he was out there.
Why am I forgetting who their quarterback was?
Kalik.
Yeah.
Kalik.
Yeah.
So I mean, and then of course they don't have another quarterback. I mean, quarterback's everything, man.
And they're going through two right now. They got Alva and they got CJ,
and they're young.
Yeah,
they're young.
And
so
they've got Peoples at running back, and he's a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a couple of junior receivers, big bodies, 6'3", 6'2" guys. And I'm gonna put it on the DBs, Caleb King and Watson. Like, I think definitely in that district, for the talent level that they possess, just let them man up. And that's what I wanted to say about the Brandeis game. Let Aiden just shadow Nevin. Like, just let him ball out. Just let that matchup be that matchup.
Old school matchup, right?
Let that matchup be that matchup. So I know Caleb's playing more safety, but he's got cornerback skills as well. He might be better served as safety, but right now I don't think that there's a receiver, especially in that district, who he can't cover by himself and just, okay, I got this guy. Defense, y'all, Kiefer, y'all just wreak havoc. Y'all do you. I got this guy. And I think that they would all step up and do that because they're competitive kids.
Yeah.
All right, who's next? The Atlanta Braves? Nah. Antonian. We got Antonian. That's a throwback logo right there. Head coach Danny Padron over there. They are 5-3. Their last two, maybe you know the school, CLHS. I couldn't find the CLHS.
Ooh, I never heard of them, bro.
Okay, that's who they played before they played Central Catholic. Quarterback Sam Garrett, Ricky Gonzalez, as you had said, and Raleigh Strode, who actually plays both ways, is one of the team's top tacklers and receivers.
Yeah, along with Eric Diaz as well.
Yeah, and offensive lineman Ty Short. This is a squad that was in a 1-point loss to Floresville, first game of the year.
Yeah.
But then they lost to Harlandale.
Yeah.
They lost to Harlandale, and I put on here a true loss because it's at a good point of the season when you should know how to do what you do to St. Thomas.
You're talking about Concordia Lutheran.
Okay.
Tomball.
Okay, yeah, Tomball.
Tomball.
Yeah, I was going to put Tomball, but it wasn't.
So Tomball, I think Tomball can be, if they don't come in ready to play, that Tomball can be a loss, with them.
Mm-hmm.
Tomball's going to give you all they have for that first half. So, if they're playing in Tomball. So as long as they prepare right the night before, hydrate, eat right, stuff like that, go to sleep, get your rest.
Mm-hmm.
Antonia should come out with that W. You know what I mean? Going into the Central Catholic game. But if they go in there thinking that they got it won, Tomball got something for them.
And they could go into that, correct me if I'm wrong, if they get a victory after this one, their only loss is to St. Thomas, and they could make it a split if they were to beat Central Catholic, right?
Yeah, it's a possibility.
That's a possibility. All right, so Antonian, let me see. In their district play is averaging 31 points per game right now. I know that this is a squad that has a looking at their squad, it's been a run by committee type setup, and they've actually been playing multiple quarterbacks as well.
Yeah.
Does that seem? How do you run a system like that? I mean, coming from a coach's perspective, and the numbers don't seem to be falling off. Everybody's throwing around 65-70%.
So Danny Padron is the next college coach. I mean, he was out at Clark. He helped start the program at O'Connor, and then he went to Texas Lutheran.
Right.
Dude's a great coach, makes great adjustments. So I can see where he's he probably doesn't have a guy who's really capable of doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I guarantee what he does is he scouts the team that he's playing, which quarterback is going to do what I'm asking to do as far as the game scheme and execute it this week. And that's what he goes with. And then whenever he needs a certain type of play throughout the game, let's pop in another dude. The good thing is that it looks like everyone on the team's comfortable with it because everyone's making plays.
Exactly.
And I think that's kudos to him to be laying that foundation in practice, so that they're practicing that in practice so that they don't skip a beat. But we did see that in prior years when Fushak was there, whenever he would rotate the quarterbacks, when he had Khalil Warfield, remember he would rotate him and Zach.
He did.
So that's real big, I think, maybe at Antonio, and it could be something where they bring kids in, they promise them playing time. I mean, we don't know what exactly is going on, but that's something that's very common out there at Antonio.
But if there's no noise about it, then it's all good.
Yeah,
then it's all good.
And like you said, there's not a drop off. It's just like they still continue to make plays.
Yeah. All right. Was that last, or do we have somebody else? Marshall. Okay. All right. And and I'd gone on Twitter and I totally forgot to add vets on that list, but I did have Marshall. I've got some stats on Marshall as well. Let me see where we at. Here we go. Marshall 7-1. Their last 2 games. Warren and Brennan.
I mean, it's easy for them to go 1-1. But man, I would like to either. I mean, I want somebody to give Brennan some competition, man.
I knew you were gonna say that.
That's what I want, man.
And honestly,
I mean, Clemens gave him something early in the season, but that was early in the season, and anybody can lose early in the first 2 games, of their season. I want to see some battling going on in this district, whether it's Holmes giving it to Brennan or Marshall. You know what I mean? And
that's who you were saying. You were saying Holmes could possibly beat Brennan.
Holmes or Marshall, man.
Because Brennan's last 2.
I only gave it to Holmes because Morales is, you know what I'm saying? I mean, he's an OG in the game. You know what I mean? He can make some adjustments.
You have Brennan going 0-2 the last 2 weeks.
I got a bullseye on their back, bro.
Man. No.
They gotta get roughed up going in the playoffs.
I think Marshall,
when's the last time Brennan was roughed up?
I can't even say they were roughed up versus Vandergrift. They just didn't wake up during that game.
I mean, I know they're game ready, but I want to make sure they're game ready before they leave the city. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean. I don't want anybody.
I think Marshall is the perfect squad to do that at the end of the year.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to take it wrong, like, Brennan. Yeah. It's not that. I just want to make sure that this squad is game ready before they leave.
And really, that comes because y'all are number 1 in the city, and we want to go further and be better than we have in the past. And if Brennan is that best shot, then y'all owe it to yourselves and to put on for your city to be at your best.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's what
I mean, who gave him the wake-up call last year? Who was it? Warren, right?
Warren
gave him a wake-up call. From then, man, they win. They did their thing. I mean, no one's giving them a wake-up call. So I think that, imagine if somebody gives them a wake-up call, how upset they would be, and they would come back out, bro.
But hold on, let's get to Marshall. Let's get to Marshall. 7-1 last 2 games. Warren and Brennan. Only losses to Taft, 41-21, like you said. Head coach Tim Williams. They've got a tough mindset, and on here I put bullies. Now I don't mean that as in, you know how they say bullies, well, you got to hit a bully back. Like, no, these dudes are looking for a fight. Like, these dudes are looking. I don't mean fist fight, but y'all know the mentality that y'all play with at Marshall. Y'all are down to take it to wherever it needs to go, and y'all are physical, and y'all run. Here we go. Let me give you these stats. 31 points per game in district, but I say bullies because they're only winning by an average of 10 points per game. So it's not like they ever cannot focus in a game, because that's a 1, almost 2 possessions, or it is 2 possessions, but
they got a strategy, man, and they play the possession game.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Take their time, because if you take your time calling the play, then you go and you run the play, come back, take your time, right? Eventually it gets into a slow-paced game, your style of game, and then you win the possession,
constantly just
pounding the rock.
Exactly.
And you win the time possession.
And then I look at their quarterback. He has 700 yards passing, and these are not including the last game stats. 700 yards passing, got you, and 350 yards rushing. Elijah Katashi has 460 yards, and Anthony Conway has 460 yards, and Anthony Conway has 260 yards rushing. So you've got three guys with over 250 yards who can run the ball, and one's your quarterback.
Yeah.
And then you've got tackling machines on the defensive side, and this is a squad I think is perfect to play Brennan, to keep Brennan on their toes for the playoffs, exactly how you were saying. So I think that they're going to go – I don't think they'll beat Brennan, but I think that this is the test where you go to the team after the game and you're shaking their hand like I needed that, because they need each other.
Yeah.
This is if it's a blowout, then if it's a blowout late, okay. If it's good for 3 quarters, then that's what they need, and Brennan will just start pulling away.
Yeah.
That's how I could see it going. But if this is a blowout from the jump, then Brennan is super focused and ready for the playoffs, because I do have Brennan winning that game. But I think that this is a game where both teams will need each other.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so that's our last squad that we are talking about today. Now let's just go over some points to hit. We've got a couple minutes left in the show. A couple of observations from this week. Madison, wake up. Bring that energy the entire game. It cannot be for the last couple minutes in the game.
Yeah.
Y'all have got the athletes. Y'all have got the coaching. Y'all have got opportunity.
Actually, I'll say this. Coop, Edwards, take leadership, baby. Take leadership, win out, do y'all's thing. Have that, lead by example. Have that team follow y'all, man. Y'all got too many good athletes out there. Y'all can make a little run, late run for sure.
Right. Brandeis, hold your heads. Don't get down on yourselves. 2 close losses, 2 almost Hail Mary. You got 2 losses by a total of 7 points on the season. JC hopefully is coming back next week or the week after that. So, that this is another squad that, even though I know they have Nico, they're 100% when they have both, especially if you're using both for how Coach Bruce wants to run that offense. And one thing I was thinking about that they didn't do that I thought they might do versus Madison yesterday was they're literally a squad that can run 2 totally separate offenses with how Coach can run the option as well as just regular football. Mm-hmm. So when you prep for Brandeis, you kind of got to prep for both looks that you can get, just depending on how they do, because I know they practice both.
Yeah.
But definitely, Brandeis, hell of a defense. You got to unload your arsenal.
You got to use number 1 more on offense, man.
You got
Straight
to.
up.
Like this.
He's a senior.
You don't have another player in the city who's done more and is going to give you more than Aiden Anesta at any point of a game. You do not go over his last 3 years period of production. And when Brandeis has been at their worst last year, the games they lost, he's not there.
Yeah.
Like it makes too much sense to help him make all your other players more of a threat.
And that's what I want to see, man. Who's going to start, utilizing those players, those guys that didn't use, say, for instance, on defense. Pull them from offense, use them on defense. The guys that are on defense, start putting them on, using them on offense.
Evans got plays again. He made plays again. So if people want to say, oh, well, the coach is gone now, so if Evans wasn't supposedly getting the ball then, well then, okay, how are we going to get this athlete with the talent the ball?
Yeah, like just figure out ways to start utilizing some of that other talent, because you've already given other kids chances who are starters now. And obviously, if there's some players that can go in and fill the role and possibly do it better that are playing on the offensive side of the ball, why not do it? You're already towards the end of your season.
Right.
Let's go and win the ship now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
This is the playoff push.
Yep.
It's time for y'all to get in position of where y'all can try to go after state. If district is not a option right now, then the playoffs were. Okay, so you're in the playoffs now. So now playoffs equals state. District, okay, cool. Playoffs equals state. San Antonio high school football coaches, players. It's the time right now. It's the time right now to start putting in the work and start surprising the city, start surprising the surrounding areas, and surprise the state. Go balls to the wall. You got to. You got to. You know, it's been far too long for San Antonio to not even be a player in the state title game, period. Hey, shout out UTSA. Birds up. Hook 'em. 2-0. We out.
Peace. See you next week.